What is up? This is your LA in a minute, and I'm here again with my friend Lynette Romero from NBC4's Morning News, Today in LA. And well, today in LA, this is the city of sunshine, stars, and the American dream. But in this special report with NBC4, turns out that LA used to be the home of mob bosses, bootleggers, and racketeers who shaped the very development of the city. That's right. It turns out that not too long ago, LA was a mafia town.
Let's get into it.
From the years before Prohibition until well after World War II, organized crime played a major part in LA. Behind the shadows, and sometimes in the limelight, kickbacks, loan sharking, extortion, payoffs, and shakedowns. So where did the Italian culture in Los Angeles really begin? Well, by the turn of the 20th century, Italian immigrants were more and more settling in Los Angeles due to the climate. It was very similar to Sicily, where many had been farmers or ranchers. But soon, also similar to Sicily, local criminals began to organize and come together, as street gangs like the Matranga family quickly established control over the Plaza area near Olvera Street, which was the home of LA's original Little Italy. And it was led by one of LA's first high-profile mafia figures, Rosario Sam Matranga, who specialized in extortion and protection rackets targeting local businesses. But the Matranga family dominance was challenged by another rising figure, Joseph Iron Man Artizzoni. Artizzoni had a reputation for being ruthless and cunning, and he led a conflict which lasted for over a decade, setting the stage for Artizzoni to emerge as one of LA's first true mob bosses by the late 1920s. And then came Prohibition, a golden era for organized crime across America, and LA was no exception. The ban on alcohol created an underground economy that mobsters were quick to exploit. Figures like Vito DiGiorgio and the legendary Jack Dragna rose to prominence during this time, running bootlegging operations that supplied liquor to speakeasies across the city and beyond.
But it wasn't just booze that made these men rich. LA mobsters found themselves in vigorous criminal competition with the graft operations being run boldly out of the mayor's office and parts of the LAPD. Albert Marco, an Italian-born bootlegger and pimp, partnered with Charles Crawford's City Hall gang, a corrupt political machine that controlled gambling dens, prostitution rings, and other vices. Together, they turned Los Angeles into a city where crime and politics walked hand in hand.
The LAPD's Central Vice Squad was on the take, protected by the top aide of Mayor George Cryer. This behavior in City Hall continued throughout the next decade as Mayor Frank Shaw ratcheted up the racket, scamming city projects and contracts, including LAPD hiring. The corruption eventually led to Mayor Shaw being recalled, the only Los Angeles mayor in history that's happened to. But the city of Los Angeles had been almost interruptedly run by an underworld government invisible to the average citizen.
By the 1940s, Los Angeles had grown into a sprawling metropolis with more opportunities for organized crime. Jack Dragna became known as the godfather of Los Angeles, controlling illegal gambling operations from downtown to the San Fernando Valley. But nowhere in LA was it booming more than Hollywood. And mobsters, they saw dollar signs in Tinseltown's glitzy nightlife. Local hangouts like the Formosa Cafe or Dragna's Club, Alabama became notorious hotspots where celebrities mingled with gangsters.
Nobody embodied LA's mob era quite like Mickey Cohen. A brash and flamboyant gangster with a taste for the spotlight, Cohen rose to power after World War II as Jack Dragna's protege before eventually striking out on his own. Cohen ran gambling rings, extorted nightclub owners, and he even dabbled in Hollywood, all while maintaining a high public profile, making him one of the most infamous figures in LA's criminal history. Around this time, a new generation of Italian and Jewish mobsters found LA to be fun and profitable. This was the legendary age of the West Coast mob. Dragna, and of course the glamorous Bugsy Siegel, elbowed his way into the Racing News wire racket right here in a back booth behind the train at Formosa Cafe. That was until Siegel was murdered in Beverly Hills. But despite LA's growing reputation as a mob town and the high-profile takedown of Siegel, the LA mob was never as violent as the mafias in Chicago or New York. So why? Geography played a role. It was LA's sprawling layout that made it harder for organized crime to consolidate power. But just as important was the city's obsession with maintaining its image as a clean, glamorous paradise. In 1946, the LAPD formed an elite unit called the Gangster Squad to rid LA of mob influence by any means necessary, even if it meant bending or breaking the law themselves. The gangster squad used wiretaps without warrants, intimidation tactics, and outright force to send a message. LA would not become another Chicago or New York, and their efforts paid off. By the 1960s, much of LA's organized crime had been dismantled.
Today, Los Angeles is no longer considered a mob town. Its underworld has faded into the history books and Hollywood films like LA Confidential and Gangster Squad, but traces of that era remain, whether it's in the old buildings that once housed speakeasies or stories passed down through generations about a time when mobsters ruled from behind closed doors.
So a special thank you to my friend Lynette Romero from NBC4 for this special report. And remember, next time you're driving through downtown, Sunset Boulevard, or here at the Formosa Cafe, beneath the sunshine and palm trees, there's a history of power struggles, corruption, and crime. A history that helped shape Los Angeles into what it is today.
All right, LA, it's been a minute.